What's going on, guys? I am here with Chris of New Venture Entrepreneurs. We are going to do our second weekly recap of our Merch by Amazon business. But Chris, I thought I'd start with just asking you a few questions like you did for me last week, just to give my audience an idea of how you got introduced to Merch by Amazon and just kind of your background with e-commerce and everything else. So with that being said, let's just get started. Like, how did you kind of get into e-commerce? What was the first, your first experience or your first platform? And how's that kind of led you down this road to where we are now with merch?
Yeah, well, Ben, thank you for having me on your channel. So I got started on merch through pretty much a couple of months ago. I applied back in July. I think it was about July or June of last year, and I just played the whole entire waiting game of we're just waiting and waiting and waiting, hoping to hear something back. And I didn't get approved until January of this year.
Oh,
So
yeah.
But before that, I've been selling on eBay. I started selling on eBay in December of 2016, and just from that, I've been jumping around from eBay. I did Shopify for a second. I did Amazon FBA, private label, Etsy for a while. Just doing so many different things, and you know, once you start something, you kind of jump to something else, and it just leads you to another opportunity. So from that, I just found Merch by Amazon, and it looks like a great opportunity. So this is what my main focus is as of right now.
Yeah. So, okay, that you have a very like similar background to me, just with all the different platforms and everything else. Now, you have talked about it before, but you're still on eBay, right? And then,
Yeah.
are you still on like Etsy or any of the other platforms, maybe with your merch stuff or with anything else?
Yeah, I mean, over time, I've kind of winded down from some of my platforms, especially private label. There are some things like once you get into something, you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't really.
Totally.
And private label, it is a great opportunity, but at this moment is not the right move for me. It's pretty expensive, and something like Merch by Amazon is a lower barrier to entry. There's not any startup costs really, and it's just a better point for me to just start doing that business until I grow more capital to get into private label, more effectively. So I kind of stopped doing private label. Amazon FBA, kind of the same thing. I don't really go out as much to look for stuff to sell to Amazon warehouse or send to Amazon warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
But I still do eBay and I still do Etsy, and I completely stopped Shopify a long time ago. But yeah, pretty much just eBay and Etsy, and then Merch by Amazon is pretty much my main focus as of right now.
Good stuff. Now, is that your goal though, to use like kind of the money you make from merch and actually go back to private labeling or back to Amazon's like Seller Central platform?
Well, I mean, that's the goal. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to grow enough capital to the point where I can just build a foundation and merch where it's just running on its own, and then just taking my entrepreneur, spirit and jumping into something else, getting private label to the point where it's just growing on its own, and then jump to something else. That's just the way I see how I want to grow my business. Just have everything go on its own, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I think it's that's pretty much like my mentality with all of it too, is like get one thing up and running and have it where it's like making you, at least maybe $1,000 a month, and then take all that money and funnel it back into either the same business, into merch, or do it into like kind of a complementary business, something that's not too far away from the space you're in, but that, is going to be your next like kind of cash flow stream. And I think that's the other cool thing is with merch, you're also learning still about e-commerce, and you can take kind of maybe the assets that you have on the merch platform and use them, put them on eBay, Pinterest, or not Pinterest, Etsy, like any of the other stuff too. So
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, and honestly, the best advice is just to jump into something, because you'll start learning more about e-commerce in general. Like I started on eBay, and from there, I was learning more about keywords and, finding out what people are searching for. So you'll know what to put in your title or in your description. And then once I started doing Etsy, I kind of had a knowledge of, SEO, or just keywords in general. So the best advice is just to jump into something, learn as much as you can. And if it doesn't work, you'll have some knowledge about online business, and you can just go to something else that might be better suit for you.
Yeah, totally. I think, it's, as an entrepreneur, you only really have to be right like once or twice, and to get that one thing that could take off. Maybe it's a private label product, or maybe it's like that one merch shirt that takes off and helps you get, a good solid BSR or whatever it may be. Like that's all you need, is that one one or two things, and hopefully those lead into other things. So I think, yeah, sounds like it's the way to go.
I'm pretty sure is very common to, in order to get some type of success, you got to go through many failures, you know, so that's just the way it is, really.
Totally. So, yeah, let's get into it with, it's good to know like part of your background, but let's get into it kind of with the merch numbers. So I'll just let you start off with, you know, what tier you're at, how many designs live, and then we can go from there, weekly sales, all that good stuff. So.
Oh, I didn't even jot that down. Yeah.
It's all
so
good.
I am currently still on tier 500. You know, I said that last week. At the moment, it's been a long week for me, to be honest. I haven't had a chance to really upload to merch. I've been so busy with other things. I only have 108 live listings at the moment. Some listings were actually taken down because, you know, the whole 90-day rule where if nothing sells with 90 days, they're going to take it down. So I had a few shirts taken down. I did relist them. And I actually had my first return this week.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of a shocker. But I mean, I've had so many sales. Actually, I've had 57 sales up to this point.
Nice.
And
all-time sales.
Yeah, all-time sales. And I literally just sold one right before we got into this call.
Yep. Always a feeling.
Yeah, so I have 57 sales, and for the royalties part, I have $120.09, which is not too bad at this point.
So like roughly $2 per sale, something like that.
Exactly. And I have 3 cancels with just 1 return. And so just to talk about some of the things that worked for me. Well, I think I lost myself. 1 second.
I see you on. Yeah, it's good on my end.
Okay. Yeah, I was scrolling through Windows. But anyway, some things that worked for me, I would have to say, is just something I'm realizing about merch is just my opinion is to, of course, get more designs up, of course. But it's really good to attack those kind of like low competition, like kind of high demand or mid to high demand niches where, just for example, the niche that I'm in that sells very well for me. There's only about 700 or 800 live listings, you know, or live designs for that niche.
Yeah.
But it's very well known. Some things I like to look at are like the first, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 10 designs and see what BSR rank those are in.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's about 1 million or less, then obviously it's a good, you know, niche to get into. So like I said, if it's like the niche that I'm in, like I said, is around 700 or 800 live listings, and the first like 10 are around 1 million. So there is demand for it. So really, the best strategy is to attack those type of niches. So I'm already in one. I've already started researching on other niches to get into with the same category or the same criteria. I mean, you know, like the first couple listings around 1 million or less, and it doesn't have that many, like 50,000 live listings. You know, it's really attack those low competition ones.
And then you take a deep dive on like one niche at a time, and then kind of spread out from there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I plan on doing. I'm already starting to think of things like stuff that I'm really interested in. You know, like just anything that you know yourself that you're kind of interested in. For me personally, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I kind of like those like Buddha statues, you know, stuff like that.
Sure.
And if you type in, you know, Buddha or something like that, or peace and love, or just, you know, stuff like that into Merch Informer, which will show you all the live listings for that keyword, you'll see like Buddha statues or just Buddha doesn't have that many listings, but the first, you know, kind of like 10 listings are in a pretty decent sales rank. So that's one thing I'm going to get into, and just stuff like that, like stuff that you're just really interested in, you know, you have some knowledge of, you know, really just start looking, doing research on those, because they may not have, because everyone's unique, you know, everyone has their own interests. So when you start typing your interest in doing research in that, then they're probably not going to have a lot of competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I really like that. It's funny you bring that up. It makes me think of kind of going back to actually how I looked at private labeling, which there was a guy, I don't know if you followed him or listened to like any podcast, but Scott Volker. And he would talk about like, how do you find products, you know, that you want to, you know, get into for private labeling. And he had this whole thing that was like your touch list. So for 2, 3, 4 days, like make a list of all the things that you like touch, like from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep.
Wow.
Your, you know, what, literally from picking up your iPhone and, and you make a list of every single thing. And you're not going to necessarily find like all the things that you want to maybe get into private labeling, or maybe you search some of them, but it gives you like a good place to kind of like start like the wheels working in your head of like, oh, well, maybe this could be a cool design, or maybe that leads you down to like the next design or the next thing. So I like that idea a lot of just like, what are your personal interests? What are the things that you're personally using or seeing like on a day-to-day basis? I think that's like an amazing place to start for finding designs.
Right, because everyone's gonna be designing Father's Day shirts or Mother's Day shirts or St. Patrick's Day shirts. So with that said, there's gonna be a ton of competition. So it's really gonna be a little bit more challenging for you to get into that niche. But if you think of things that you like yourself or your own interests, then you have a better chance of ranking up.
Yeah, 100%.
Some things that did not work for me, like I said already, I haven't really had a chance to list too many designs. So maybe I would have been able to sell more than what I have if I were to list more.
Well, didn't you, do you still have a designer that you're outsourcing to, or are you doing all your designs yourself right now?
Yeah, that's actually the issue. I had to relieve my designer not too long ago. So I'm kind of just designing on my own for the moment. Just things didn't work out. I feel like he started getting a little lazy, I guess I could say. And I just felt like it was just the best thing to do for me to just take him off and find someone else, really. Yeah. So I'm still on the hunt. I'm still searching for someone else to design for me. Let me get into my sales. So for the past 7 days, I'm looking on Pretty Merch right now. For the past 7 days, I've sold 12, and
nice. That's solid.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, for the past 8 days, I've been making consistent sales every single day. My top day this week was on Monday. I've sold 3 shirts. On Sunday, I sold 2, and Wednesday, I sold 2, and then every other day, I pretty much just sold 1. But everything's been very consistent. I like where it's going right now. I'm, very hopeful for the future as I add more listings to merch.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like getting into that consistent place of like sales every single day is like, that's an amazing feeling in and of itself, right?
Exactly.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think I had a pretty slow week, to be honest. I wish I was a little bit more consistent like you, but I think I'll just get into mine really quick. I'm still tier 500. I was at about 130 live designs last week. And this week, I have, as of today, I have 185 live. This week, I only did three sales, though, so only 3 shirts versus last week, I think I was at 6. So last week was pretty consistent. This one, not so much. So 0 returns still. Knock on wood, which is great. But yeah, I think this week was definitely a slow week overall for me, which, can be a little demoralizing. But I just try to focus like kind of on the longer term and just think about like, hey, am I uploading consistently? Am I getting like higher quality designs, doing better research? So to touch on it, like I think the things that didn't really work for me this week were, I honestly don't even really know what it was that didn't work. I just think that it was maybe a slower week, inconsistencies with some of the sales, because overall, like been doing a lot of research, getting like my designs uploaded, and I definitely feel like I have high quality designs. So I think that I need to think more about like how I'm building maybe the listings themselves, or doing what you were talking about and looking for those niches that are really going to be able to get me like consistent, few sales per design per month, and kind of building off that. Because I thought I had a really solid niche that I was in that was doing me, a few units a month per design. That one is slowed down. Which I'm not exactly sure why. So yeah, I think those are kind of like the things. Now, one thing I was going to ask you about is like, I've pushed a lot more designs live in the last 5 days. Do you, how long do you think it like normally takes to see those like up live and then selling? Like, do you think there's any time lag, but for indexing on Google or on Amazon search engine? Like, I'm kind of curious about that.
That's a good question. Honestly, I do not have the answer for that. It really varies. I have no idea. I have heard some people say some things like, once you have it up, like once you submit it and it's accepted, it may take a while to index onto the Amazon's platform. But I don't know if that's 100% true. I've had some sales where I listed it and it sold, within the next day or like a couple hours or something like that. That's happened to me once. So I'm not even sure what that could be. So you're saying what your strategy, what you're doing now is really just like focusing on one niche. That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You're not really expanding into other niches.
When we talked last week, I'd just gotten my designer, and so I was going pretty broad at the time, and just had like, I mean, I was doing research, definitely doing some targeted research, but I wanted to do like a very broad, like kind of feel of like what he could do design wise. So I had to maybe do like, a lot of stuff in kind of the big niches, and then the sub niches of those. And then like the last week, I kind of focused more on just like two or three niches that in the past I've done like pretty well in, and had him create designs for those. But I think like towards the very end of the week, I started thinking a little bit more about kind of the strategy that you talked about, which goes like, again, like I think back to private labeling a lot for me. And that's like, you choose what criteria you're looking for, and then you only focus on like that, something that meets that criteria. So for you, it's, finding something that has maybe the top 10 designs have under 1 million BSR, and, there's not too many, like it's not a very saturated niche. You have, less than 1,000 or 2,000, competing shirts in there, something like that. And I think that's what I want to take from like your experience, and like start doing that a little bit more. So yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed with merch is that you can't really have success if you just dip your toes very lightly into these different niches. Like if you find something that's good, and you throw up maybe like, I don't know, 3 designs, it's not really going to sell, from my experience at least. It's not going to have so much success as opposed to you kind of digging into a niche and just like maximizing like 10 or more designs or something like that. That's where I find more success, because the niche that I'm in, I have more designs in that, and I'm finding more sales with that one niche. I have dipped my toes in other niches before, like kind of like low niches, but I'm not really getting any sales really. And not only that, but the niche that I'm in, I have several designs up for it. I have quite a few. I have a lot, I mean, but only 3 of those shirts out of all the shirts I have for that one niche are actually selling consistently. So it's not only getting in one niche and having a ton of designs up. You have to, consider the fact that maybe only a few of those designs are going to sell anyways,
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. It's like at the end of the day, that's another thing that I've been learning a lot about. I talk a few of the other people in kind of the merch space that we've talked about before. Like I know Greg, we were chatting with, and he had an amazing week this last week, it looks like. And he was telling me it's only from like 1 or 2 or 3 of his designs are doing like massive amounts of sales. And I think that's like another kind of interesting to think about. It's totally like quality over quantity, but to find that one really quality design, like the market's really what determines like that design is quality and it's going to sell. So I've been thinking kind of about that, like the overall strategy, like, hey, I might make these designs I think are really high quality and like everything looks good, but if they're not getting in front of people, or if the market doesn't determine that that's a good design, it doesn't matter anyway. So I think like I'm definitely thinking a little bit more of that mentality. And honestly, the one other thing I'll say is just like the whole BSR thing. I think a lot of the designs that I have, they're good, they're really good quality, but they're not getting in front of the eyeballs, and so they're not going to convert and get sales. And I think that's partially because if they're in like slightly more competitive niches, if you don't get those first few like organic sales, then your shirt's not going to get pushed up or even get any BSR in the first place. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think advertising is something that eventually you're going to push at all? Or, I mean, obviously the goal is not to spend more money on ads and everything else, but.
Yeah, I do want to push more on advertising. I do have a Facebook page for my brand, but I'm not really listing as many posts as I should, of course.
Yeah.
But I do think advertising does play a good role into getting more sales. And just today, I was looking through some shirts. I saw a very basic design that just said entrepreneur, just in very basic font, and it was $19.99. And the BSR was ranked pretty well. I think it was like under 1 million. But there was another design that was $14.99, and it said entrepreneur as well, but it was ranked lower, or like a higher rank than that. So I was just like, wait, how is this one priced a lot higher and is basic, but this other entrepreneur shirt is like priced lower and it looks basically the same, So I
Yeah,
think advertising may or may not play a role into, why people buy certain shirts.
totally. I also just, yeah, it's crazy that you say, like, bring up just that simple text-based design, because like a lot of the designs that have actually been selling well for me recently have literally been like either a clip art piece that I took off, some website and put a little bit of text beneath, or very, very, very basic text designs that most of the text stuff I do myself, but there are a few my designer did. And those are like, over the last month, I'd say those are the ones that are doing almost all of my sales, or the really, really simple ones. I don't know if it's because they're like resonating with someone or what it is, but yeah,
It could be advertising probably,
or advertising. Who knows? Like, I don't, yeah, it's nuts.
But it's always a good thing to try different ways to get your product in front of more faces. So if advertising is what it takes, then it doesn't hurt to try,
Totally.
I was gonna ask you something. I remember from our previous video together, you said that you sell your merch shirts on eBay.
So yeah, well, in the past, what I was doing is that I would, before I got into merch specifically, I had a Shopify store that was doing print on demand, and I'd use Custom Cat, it's like a print on demand partner. It's like Printful or Printify, any of those guys. And then I only use the Shopify store to actually like house all of my designs in, and then I'd use an integration from there. I can't remember which one it is. Oh, you know what? Actually, Shopify has their own integration. So I'd push all the t-shirts that I had housed in there over live to eBay. And, that was it's not a lot, but I haven't done that recently. At the time I had only maybe like 15 live, and that would do, I'd say 1 or 2 shirts a month.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I'm just interested. I did a video with, Shannon and Spencer that you saw.
Yeah.
And Shannon did the same thing where he just has like his whole hub of, merch shirts, and he just blasts out to, Shopify, Merch by Amazon, eBay, and all that. And I was just curious, like when I look on eBay, because I've been selling on eBay for a while, there's a lot of like print on demand shirts on there, but they're priced at like around $10 or $12. So I was just curious, like, how are you guys getting any success by selling on eBay when the competition is extremely high and people are just, going like pricing their shirts so low,
Yeah.
You say you're only getting like 1 or 2 a month, really?
Yeah, but like 1 or 2 at the time I was doing like 1 or 2 designs a month. But I think at the end of the day, like, it really is just about like the design that you're putting up has to be placed in the right place, obviously, right, with the keywords and everything. But then it's just about like, what does it resonate with, like, the person on the other end? And that's something I picked up from like when I was doing door-to-door sales, is that it doesn't, like, at the end of the day, price doesn't really matter. It's really more about like, do you love the product? Like, have you got this person hooked on the product? Is it something that they want? And I mean that, when you're doing door-to-door sales, it's much more about the sales process. But I still take like the lesson from that over to like online, is that price does matter more online because people have all the different options. But if you're not in a competitive space, like you have a very specific design and you're getting it in front of the people who are like very passionate about that design or that niche or whatever it is, or maybe it's just like a text-based phrase, it doesn't matter if it's $12.99 versus $19.99. No, like, I'm just saying that off the cuff. I don't know like if that's necessarily always true, but I think that's like the way on eBay that you can still win, is if you have a shirt that really resonates with someone, like, and there's not much competition, so they can't really shop it around. They're much more likely to go and buy it. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
Kind of going off what you were saying with door-to-door salesman, and kind of going off what I was saying earlier, how that entrepreneur shirt was priced higher and it was making more sales. So you have to like think about the presentation. So as a salesman, if you're just live and bubbly, you have that personality, you're probably gonna get someone to buy from you. If you have your listing just really just pop out and stand out and like have colors and I don't know, just make it really stand out,
yeah,
you're probably gonna get someone to buy it because it just really, is in their face and they're interested in that product. Like I said, eBay is extremely competitive.
yeah. You're the eBay master, so you probably have like some more insight than I do, to be honest.
I have the private label thing that I was doing. I also put it on eBay, and eBay just has a ton of like Chinese sellers, so they're of course going to price a lot lower. So when I put my listing on and I was selling basically the same exact product as them, I was able to price it higher and still make sales because like I didn't have just that basic, this is a children's toy
Yeah.
type of listing. I had like just colors on it, and I had like big text, big font, all this crazy stuff just popping out at the customer. So what I'm trying to get at is you really have to make sure you optimize your listing description as much as possible in order to get that sell as well.
Yeah, totally. And I think, that's another one of the kind of bigger principles I've been thinking about too is, okay, first of all, I really want Amazon to allow us to choose which shirt and color is going to be like the main product listing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so frustrating when you like pick them and then you have one, you're like, this one looks the best. Like I want this one on there. And then they just put a random design on it.
Right.
So that's one of my things I want them to change. But
well, honestly, I think what happens with that is that when they'll probably, you don't get to choose which one you want, they'll just like choose for you. But I think this is my theory that when one sells, say someone buys like a women's black, whenever someone types in that keyword for your shirt, they're gonna see women's black because it already sold.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I think.
That would be cool. I have heard that once you like start getting sales, that Amazon will automatically put the most popular one as the hero image. So I mean that's good, but yeah. Anyway,
unless they put like let's just say Mother's Day shirt, like unless they put red Mother's Day shirt and you have a red Mother's Day shirt, they'll probably just have that out. Of course, that's obvious.
Yeah.
But I wish you could choose, which color you want to show first as well. That would be nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have another thing I'd like to change about merch as well. Like, I wish there was more functionality to the uploading process. Because at this point, all you get to do is just upload it and then, submit it. But you've used Printful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know how you can upload a shirt and then you can kind of like move the design around to have it fit however you want in that box. I wish Amazon would put more investment on their designing part so we can at least adjust the size. Because sometimes I'll have a design go up on the shirt. I'm like, oh crap, this is probably too big. I have to go back to the design and then in a whole different program and then change everything up and then re-upload it again to Merch by Amazon.
Yeah, it's definitely a little frustrating. I mean, yeah, Amazon's totally like you have to play by their rules, and they make these random decisions. Which I mean, I know we were going to talk about this, but like Popsockets, first of all, really exciting that they have those on there.
Oh
but
yeah,
like why was that the first product? I have no clue. Like to me,
honestly, I'm excited about it. I like it. Yeah. I like the whole idea that they're their focus right now, their vision. As you can see, it's not going to be just shirts, sweatshirts, not just clothing. They're going to have accessories to go along with it. And who knows, they might come out with, other cell phone accessories like, phone cases, or they might have, who knows? Like the possibilities are endless at this point,
Yeah, I think you and I mentioned it earlier, but it's just like, again, it's this kind of further validation that Amazon is still like invested in merch, and it still thinks that like this is an awesome platform. If they're saying, yes, we're willing to expand and go into, out of the apparel and into kind of like these other things, I think that's the exciting part of the announcement. It's not necessarily the product itself, but it's like knowing, okay, they're going to make the investment to go into like Popsockets, which means probably other phone accessories, like you said. But then it's like, if you think about like the other print on demand companies like Printful, all the other ones that are out there, they all have like the tote bags, beach towels,
they have hats and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think like that's the really exciting thing is we're going to be able to like start using the designs we already have, number one, for those items, but then also like, yeah, I mean, totally like going into all these other different spaces. And then I do think hopefully eventually they'll give us a little bit more in the way of functionality, but Amazon, everything's on their time. So it's like when they say, yeah, then we can have it. But
it's so random though. When you bring up Printful and Printify and all these other fulfillment services, they don't have Popsockets. Not that I know of.
Yeah.
So why did Amazon go for Popsockets? I was just, I thought the next move would be like hats or something like that to go along with merch, but they chose something like this. And actually the first time I heard about Popsockets was probably like 2 months ago. I was at my grandma's house and I have a little cousin. She's like 20 years old. And I saw it on her phone. And I was like, what is that? So I didn't know about it, but apparently it's pretty popular among like little kids and stuff. Yeah,
it's I didn't really know much about him either, but yeah, I think it's the one thing I will say is I did see someone in one of the Facebook groups say like why'd they add these? Like the price point on Amazon for most of them is like it's super saturated at like $9.99, and for I think the starting price for us to even make a margin is like $13 or $12 or something. So it'll be interesting to see how well those actually do. Have you been enabled for that, by the way, or?
No, I have not. I guess they're going out on a rolling basis to certain people.
Yeah.
So it might take a while to get to me. I hope I get it pretty soon. But I think like I did some research on other websites that sell those. It looks like the price point, the average price point is like around $15.
Oh, really?
From what I see, yeah.
Good stuff.
And you know, even think about that. Amazon is also just like a huge, well-known online retailer. You can probably price in the $15-16 range because most people go to Amazon to buy stuff.
Totally.
You know, but I haven't seen any for, you said $10 basically. That's on Amazon.
I didn't even look. I haven't looked, but so that's what someone mentioned in the Facebook groups. I think it's the same thing. We have a lot of competition from kind of these Chinese private label sellers that are coming out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Drives the price down. So, but we'll see. I think again, it goes back to like if you create something that resonates with like your target audience, it still has the potential to explode and get you some sales. And yeah, so we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here.
Cool, man. Well, anything else we want to touch on this time? I think that was pretty much all I had.
Yeah, same here. We pretty much went over our stores, you know, where we're at, and I can definitely update you next week to see how everything else is going. Hopefully, I get some more designs up this week. And just you already know I work a full-time job, so I've been pretty busy, and hopefully I can get more designs up. Really. Well, honestly, I've been thinking that I'm really into this, you know, print-on-demand business. I might even just wind down out of, you know, eBay and like not Etsy because it's all print-on-demand, but eBay. It gets to a point where, especially during the summer, where things really slow down for sales.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm noticing that I'm putting up a lot of work into it, and you know, just sales are already pretty slow right now. So I don't really see the point of putting so much effort into it. But people like, of course, buying new things as opposed to what I sell as men's clothing. I'm probably just gonna, you know, hang up my eBay store for a second and probably just focus totally on Merch by Amazon.
Yeah,
that's some things I've been thinking about. I heard summer slowdown is really just a thing, not only in used clothing, but just a thing in general.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that before, summer slowdown?
I haven't. I personally haven't, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Everyone's out and about doing stuff and saving money, maybe for like fourth quarter, which is fine by me. But
oh yeah, that's another thing I was going to ask. Have you heard the thing where people are saying like right now is kind of the best time to start getting up your holiday designs up, like Christmas and Halloween? Since we do have that new thing where you can have your listings up for 6 months.
Right.
Maybe it's probably not a bad strategy to start listing those things right now. Just get it up early. You know?
Yeah, that's a good idea, to be honest. Like I haven't really thought about that. I'm really bad right now with planning like I've never really like pushed like any of the holidays. Like Father's Day is today actually. So, you know, I don't think about those too much, but that's something I need to start being more serious about because I know there's people that are getting insane numbers doing that. And so,
the best time of the year to start selling or to be selling on Amazon, especially merch. So I might be trying to implement that strategy into what I'm currently doing now. So, you know, I might do like half of my regular niche and then like the other half into getting into, you know, holiday designs. And since we're on tier 500, we have more room to play with, which is, you know, pretty good.
Dude, 100%. Yeah, I'm excited. Again, just talking about fourth quarter gets me really fired up because last year I did 24 sales in December and I only had like 15 designs alive or something like that. And now I have, you know, 185 designs alive. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be crazy. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Same here, man.
Cool. Well, we'll have to link up next weekend, see where we're at numbers wise. But for everyone I'm watching on my channel, I'm going to put a link to Chris's channel in the description and obviously a link to the Facebook group and everything else. And Chris, anything on your end?
No, if you want to check out my channel, I know you're going to link it in the description, but I'll just say it, New Venture Entrepreneurs at YouTube. And I also have an Instagram as well if you would like to follow me on there. Awesome. And that's going to be it for me.
Cool. Good stuff. All right, man. We will touch base next weekend and excited to hear about kind of your progress over the week.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Ben.
Yeah. Talk soon.